Welcome to the Holly Hughes podcast, where creative people come together to have creative conversations. My guest today is Michelle Kholos Brooks, who I'm excited and I have goosebumpies again to talk to because she and I met years ago. We're gonna just say years, at a play called Expressing Motherhood, where we both performed essays, which was so out of my comfort zone. I've always liked being very well hidden in the background. And we met, and I really liked you, and we've remarkably stayed in touch, even if it's sometimes on social media. And I've gotten to see your work just get like bloom. I don't even know the right word, just like, because when I'm looking at you, like I literally see like these giant white flowers, like just kind of coming out. So I love that. I also like how you tackle really intense subjects with, see, I'm going to cry, with history and modern issues, like all in one. So I would love to talk to you about all that you do and how that you do it and how you do it. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so happy. I'm honored to be here.
Oh,
And so
goody.
happy to be reunited with you.
Yeah, this is going to be good. So I want to start with obviously Hitler's tasters.
Okay.
I really do. I want to know how that started, like how even the idea came to you and
Sure.
what made you curious. And people often use this word, I think, with creative people, brave enough to write it. Like what was all of that about for you?
Well, first of all, I always like to begin by saying Hitler's Tasters is a lot nicer play than it sounds. Some people get very afraid of the H word and it's caused
Mm.
lots of controversy, but oh well. I mean, if you're going to be in theater, you might as well. I was walking through a war museum with my former writing partner in Indianapolis, of all places, the first and only time we were in Indianapolis because we had a play that opened in Bloomington. And we were killing some time before we had to get on the plane, as we were just kind of, inevitably you're in the World War II area. And he said, hey, did you read that article about that young woman who was like, that woman who was one of Hitler's food tasters? And I was like, wait, what? And he said, the young women who were Hitler's food tasters. And then he started walking away. And I was like, halt, come back. And I said, are you going to write that? And he goes, no, why would I write that? I said, because if you're not going to write that, I'm going to write that. And he said, I'm not going to write that. Um, I'm sure as a creative person yourself, every once in a while, you're not only just hit with something, but you're slammed with something that absolutely is a story that you must investigate and that you must tell because it just got into my body and I knew that I was the person that had to tell the story, or at least I wanted to be, the person that told the story.
Well, I love that you were like, "Are you taking that?" Because I'm taking
Yeah.
that because I
Yeah.
have had
Like if
that
you're gonna do
conversation
that,
too. They're like, "Oh, are you we writing that down because we said that together? So are you
right.
owning that or is that one
Yeah,
mine?"
yeah, yeah. I want to be clear. I want to be clear. That wasn't really his jam, but 100% mine. And he was kind of like, "Pff, no." Without even knowing much about it. First of all, it sounded hilarious to me. Like the idea of putting, young women in a room where they could, potentially die at any meal is kind of lends itself to some hilarity. And if you look at it through the right or the wrong lens, whatever you consider that. But I've always been very concerned about young women and the treatment of young women. And to me, it just represented everything about the way that we use up young women. And as long as they're valuable to us, and then we discard them. We raise them up, we knock them down, we kill them off, either, metaphorically or literally.
And you literally do that in the whole play.
And that literally, yeah, in the play. Well, we don't really know what happens to
Just
it
that
was
bright light. I love the light.
yeah. But um I wanted to actually leave a little, I mean, whatever happens to them, it's not good, right? Whatever happens to them is not good. Um, but I wanted to leave a sense of mystery in terms of giving very specific answers about what happens to these girls, because in war, people disappear all the time for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, you play on that a lot. I want to know about why you chose as a writer, as a creative, like plays, right? So I go to theater, right? But everyone calls me weird. So, but like, there's this tactileness that we don't get in theater when we are so intimate with the players, right?
Mhm.
And so using that as a medium, it's for me, it's more than words on a page. You're three-dimensional while you're writing.
Mhm.
And then you have to trust a director and like a people you don't know to then bring that to life. What is that whole process for you? And do you think about it at all while you're writing?
I do now. I started writing plays very stupidly. I just thought I wanted to write plays. And I was a journalist. I was in public radio for a long time. But I was always writing on the side. And I thought that I always wrote fiction. And I thought like eventually I would just be writing, masterful works of
Obviously.
and obviously. And it turns out, books have a lot of words in them. And I was actually went back to graduate school very late in life to study fiction writing.
Okay,
And
wait. I want to know what you consider late in life.
well, I turned 40 while I was in graduate school.
Okay, okay.
That
Not
way.
late, but go ahead.
Not late, but
But
legit,
you were
like,
grown.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't go to a graduate school right after undergrad, which actually I totally recommend because it was way more fun, I think, for me. And during that time, I was writing fiction, but actually my plays were getting produced. So I sort of was like, I love writing fiction. I love writing plays. I feel like I'm going to go with The Boy Who Loves Me. The plays were actually getting done. But I also really, I love writing them. So just to back up a little bit, I just entered it really stupid, like, oh, I'm going to write plays. And then, but somehow miraculously, they would kind of get picked up here and there. And then I learned about the process of writing plays and the process of putting a production on. I wasn't thinking at all about the production. In my head, I could see it all so clearly. But
You were cracking me up because like you're talking about how you went into plays. I think that's how I picked my starter husband. Like
there you
we
go.
we had fooled around and I put on his pants. I was like he was tall and skinny. I was like if I fit in his pants, I'll stay with like I'll date him. Like literally at 23, my awesome capacity to know good and bad, that was my choice. I could fit in his pants.
Yeah, well, I mean, people get married for worse reasons, as far as I can tell. Um, so, that worked out a little bit better in the end, but uh, I just but what I hadn't thought about was having to deal with a director, having to deal with actors. I just thought I write it here, it comes out there. What's the problem, right? And it was super eye-opening for me and also super frustrating then, still frustrating now, also magical. But it's never what I hear in my head. Sometimes it's better, which is thrilling, and sometimes it's not matching what I need it to be, and that's so frustrating.
Oh, does it not match in tone, or are you particular about like them saying the words exactly as on the page?
I I'm talking about like tone or
Mm,
the way that they would say a line. Like in my head, you have to hit a certain line a
mm.
certain way in order for it to be funny, right? But if they don't say it that way, it falls flat and doesn't have the meaning. So
Funny is hard. Writing humor is so
it's
hard.
hard. It's hard. It's really hard. So in terms of the actual words, yeah, the great thing about being a playwright, well, I should first say the bad thing about being a playwright is that you can't make a living at it. I mean, there's a few strengths, but most people have to also teach or do other things. But the payoff is you can pick up your play and take it if you want to. Like if it's not going well, if they're
Oh,
decimating your play, you have to give back your whatever. If they give you any money, you have to give back whatever they've given you. But you can pick up your play and go and say, this is not my intention. This is not accurate. If they want to do some kind of different kind of casting that doesn't serve the purpose of the play, can be really problematic. And people have to say the words that are on the page. And there are actors that think of a play as a blueprint, which is a little bit more film.
Mm.
And I feel like I do this for the words. So if you're not going to say the words, then this is not a good match. You don't
Oh
get
my God, that is the quote of the day. I do this for the words. No, serious. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm or funny, but like I love that. I want that to land. I do this for the words.
Yeah, I like words. I like putting them together. I like puzzling them together and having them do certain things. And I don't always get the words right. And if they put a spin on something that makes it better, or I mean, inevitably, it's hard. There's a lot of words to remember, right? And keep in mind, people that are doing my plays are not being, you know, paid like George Clooney to do
Mm.
something on Broadway. So they've got other things going on, and it's hard to remember everything. So if they say something in the wrong way, but it actually sounds better, like it's better coming out of their mouths, then I'm absolutely happy to change it. And oftentimes that will make it into a publication. But if they won't even try the words the way that they're written, then I feel personally irritated by that. And ideally, I have a director that I can work with, that I have a good enough relationship with, that I can say, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the director's also looking at, um, the entire tapestry. They're looking at the furniture on stage. They're looking at the lighting. They're
Hmm.
looking at how it looks when different people are interacting with each other. They're not necessarily paying attention to all the words coming out of their mouths. So sometimes I always appreciate a director that is willing to have the kind of relationship with me where I can say like, but hey, this, I don't talk directly to the actors unless the director
Mm.
asks me to, but I will give her, and it's usually her, lots of notes at the end.
I can't imagine. I want to know like what it sounds like in your head while you're writing humor. Like, are you laughing or are you like, oh my God, that'll be so funny?
Um, for me, humor generally comes out of pressure, like
Mm.
pressure on characters. So it's not like waka waka joke a minute. It's you put young women in a room in a very tense situation. They may die at any minute, but they're young and they're innocent. And so sometimes they say really stupid things, right? That are funny. Um, so I think that's kind of where my humor tends to land, but I don't know it's going to happen until I'm writing it. And if it cracks, my policy is basically if it cracks me up, then at least I have that. If other people don't laugh, that's their problem. But but if it makes me laugh because it surprises me, then I think generally it will make other people laugh because it will surprise them. Sometimes because I put humor in really dark situations, people are too scared to laugh or they're
Oh.
so surprised that they don't really laugh. They might be like, you might hear like, oh, you know. But yeah, humor is it's tricky stuff. I once had a woman after Hitler's Tasters in Chicago. I did a talk back, and then a woman came up to me afterwards, and she said, I just wanted to ask you, was it okay to laugh?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, we."
It should come with a disclaimer.
I know, and believe me, there's tons of disclaimers on my
I
play.
saw it. I read that. Oh my gosh, I can't
Oh my God,
imagine.
the trigger warnings are. I cannot wait
So
until.
how do you, wait, can we talk about like how do you feel about those? They
I
annoy me. Can
don't
I just
understand.
say that?
I mean, life is so freaking triggering. Are you going to walk around like with like a sandwich board telling people all your triggers? We don't know what people are going to be triggered by. And I can't, and I'm sorry, if you're walking into the theater and the play's called Hitler's Tasters, fucking deal with it, right? Like, don't go. If you don't want to go, don't go. But to go and then police the language of
I
a
can't. I think everyone's entitled to how they feel, but I think what the world has kind of gone mad with is that's not the most important thing. Your emotion in that moment, you might have to learn, grow, figure something out. You might have to learn to communicate. You might learn what's not good or good for you, but that issue is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And you might have to tolerate something that's doesn't track with you.
Yes.
But you're okay, but okay, we actually have to do
Do
that
that.
in life. But their life is not my problem. You know, I just feel like if you're gonna come in, you 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 paid your ticket, come see what you get. You can like it or not like it.
Mm.
But you are required to sit there and well, I guess you can leave. It's sort of rude, but you can leave in the middle of it. Um, but yeah, the trigger warnings drive me absolutely batty. I do. There are some people that can't tolerate like flashing lights. It
Oh
can
yeah, yeah.
into an epileptic seizure or something like that. So fine if you want to put that up. But the rest of it, to say that you're going to hear about violence, that you're going to hear about um, the racism, that you're going to hear about anti-Semitism, that you're going to hear about, you know,
Right?
just okay. Well,
Hey,
I mean,
it's called
you don't want
what
to hear
come
about
out
the
into the
thing.
world. Come on out. Let me open the door. What happens when you are exposed to that? What happens when you see something that makes you think and feel and makes you uncomfortable? Does it make you explore? Does it make you want to write something in response? Like you don't even know if you're so well protected that you're not experiencing anything. You're not becoming or being someone outside of this tiny little bubble you created. You're missing so much.
I think so. I think
I
so.
do too.
But you know, also a lot of people don't like theater, are super uncomfortable with it, and don't like to be there sitting that close to actors and having those feelings with a lot of different people that they don't know. And you can't, you know, you unless you have an intermission, you can't go to the bathroom while you can't put it on pause and go to the bathroom. You can't eat gummy bears during it. You know, you can't.
You mean you have to adult? Are you asking people to adult just a
Yeah,
little?
I know.
Sorry, that's so sidetracked. When are you like the most prolific? Are you a morning person, late person, or are you really dedicated to this is ass in chair time, I'm writing? And does the mood that you're in influence it? That was a lot. Should I slow down?
No, no, probably
Okay.
I'm just thinking about probably my mood influences. Definitely. I am a very chaotic writer. I've had to come to terms with it. When people ask me about my process, I'm always like, I don't know what my process is. I don't really have a process. I really, really I write very, very quickly and sort of in a, you know, sort of vomit a thing out. And then I feel a relief and a release, and then I can take my time going back to the
Mm.
play and writing it. Um, my husband is a writer, and he writes very like everything is. I mean, he writes novels, so he has to be, you know, really
He's
methodical.
with all those words, all those
He's got
hard
all
words,
those words and a lot of research, and he has to keep things very
organized.
managed. And he's always like, "What do you?" I'm just blah, 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 blah. And then I see what I've got.
Mm.
I actually really love to do, I've done quite a few 48-hour play challenges,
Ooh.
which is really, I hate it and I love it so much. And it's actually how I wrote Hitler's Tasters, um, where somebody gives you, so generally you try to do it with some, like a group of other writers,
Hmm.
and you have somebody give you some prompts, like 4 or 5 prompts. And then at some point you like go on a Facebook page or you send out a text to everybody and say, I'm starting. And from that point on, you have 48 hours to write your play. And you can do other stuff in between. You can go to a doctor's appointment, you can eat dinner, whatever you need to do. You can burp your baby, whatever you need to
You
do.
can pee and like eat your gummy
You can
bears.
eat your gummy, you can do whatever you need to do. Um, and but you can't look back. The best rule is when you can't look back and see what you've already written. Your imperative is to go forward. So it takes away all of your filters, all of your sensors, and it's always surprising what comes out of it. I actually find I'm better at structure that way
I
than
love
mapping
that.
it out. It's weird. I don't know why. I don't
I
know.
do like 5 minute things. I'm like, sometimes when I know I'm avoiding something, I'm like, just do it for 5 minutes. And inevitably, an hour and a half goes by. But
Yeah,
sometimes I can procrastinate around those, like, the floor obviously needs to be cleaned. Obviously, I need to fold the laundry. And I hate doing it's like my least favorite task. It never ends, right? So that one is for me. I like the 48-hour thing. I think as a writer of any kind or creative person, you definitely need community because you're so alone in the act of it, right? Like you're alone in your head with all the voices, you
yeah,
know, cranking out this story that if you don't actually reach out and communicate with others, I think your work always does better for that, another set of eyes, but also the push. So
yeah.
are you competitive with anyone?
Yeah, I definitely I love being in a actually I have mixed feelings about being in a writing group, but it's good. It makes me very competitive, but competitive with myself. Like I'm all you all do, I want you all to be
Sure, I believe you.
successful, but then I'm like, well, I'm not going to come in next week without anything. I'm not going to be, like they did 10 pages, ugh, whatever, I can do 25. I mean, well, yeah, for some reason it gets me all riled up. I
I
do.
love the edge.
Yeah.
I do. So what are you working on now?
I actually just finished a new play. It is much more of a
Mm.
comedy than my other plays, because as I said to somebody recently, with my last 4 or 5 plays, I tried to save the world and it just got worse. So now I'm just
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah, you can't, you got to do it indirect, man. You got to do it indirect.
so I, so I just finished that one, and there are some people that seem interested. I don't know if I
So
had
do
enough.
people like contact you because I don't know that world, right? Like if you want to
Yeah.
talk about publishing and the horrors of that, I mean the joy of it, right? Like I can talk about publishing, but I don't know about plays. Like my daughter got into theater and they want in their high school to do X, Y, and Z, but they can't always afford the plays that they want to do.
Right. Right, right. So I, I still don't even know how they get done half the time. I mean, honestly, I've created enough of a network now that I have directors that I can go to and say,
Mm.
what do you think of this? And if they like it, they can reach out to theaters that they like, or we can do readings. I mean, the nice thing about a play is that I can always hear it. I can always, there's a theater around the corner from me that I'm connected with. I can always go in and say, hey, do you mind if I do a reading? And I know people in the community will come and I can hear it, because the last part of a play, the final piece of it is the audience reaction, right? And if the audience ain't reacting, you got a problem if they play. Um, so so
How big of a table read do you do then? Like, how many people do you invite for something like that?
um it depends. Usually
Okay.
for, like the last couple table reads I've done, have it's just been the cast and then very, very few invited friends. Like I like one or two. And then maybe the director will have one or two, or an
Mhm.
actor that knows somebody, But it needs to be pretty small initially just to hear it. I always have my husband there, and I always have my son there, whenever I can. And then I have like one really good friend that I like to have there. But it's well in LA. But you have to, I think you have to be careful about who you bring into that circle in the beginning.
For so many reasons.
Yeah.
So have you ever had work taken from you? Like meaning that like someone came and heard you and they kind of were like, "Oh, I like that." I know a writers group like that hive mind that happens like if you don't get new people, sometimes like all your ideas start to mishmash a bit. And
Mhm.
you're like, "That was my character's name. What are you doing?" Or
Yeah, yeah,
does
yeah.
that happen with in plays as well or less?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it does, but I don't really worry about
You're
it.
careful.
Well, I don't know. Like, I already wrote it. Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna write Hitler's Tasters too? Like, what are you gonna do? So it maybe, and the thing is, mine's already like accounted
Done.
for,
Hmm.
proof of that. So I can't manage, if I start worrying about the world. I also think I've met a lot of writers or people who say that they want to write, but they're so afraid someone's going to steal their ideas. And I'm like, I think that keeps you from writing.
Mm.
Like you don't know. It's a miracle that anything gets done. It's a miracle that anything gets published. It's a miracle that anything gets on the stage. It's a miracle that anything gets on the screen. It's a miracle. So don't write the end of the story. Like you just
Yeah,
take
don't
it.
chicken out. Don't make it impossible
I
before it
don't.
starts.
I
Yeah,
mean, to
yeah.
me, it's just an excuse, really.
Okay, so what's your dream? Like, if you could put a cast together or where you want your show, like, do you ever think about that? Like, oh my God, I want to be on this Broadway theater or this, or I want to
Uh,
be here, and these are the people I would ideally love. And the play doesn't have to exist. It could be like something you're going to do in the future. I'm just kind of like curious if you ever think like that.
yeah. Um, I very rarely think about actors when I write the play, which could be my problem. But I don't have an actor in mind. Usually when I write, I don't have an actor in mind. I let the character be what the character is going to
Mm,
be, and then try to find an actor that matches.
mhm.
Broadway, I don't think is really a possibility for me. Not with the kind of stuff that
I know,
I.
but like if you could, like it's like the Pantages. I remember growing up because I grew up like on Long Island, so
Uh-huh.
but I don't identify as a New Yorker, so all of you don't go there with me. But my whole thing is that I remember I grew up going the Pantages or this theater, come see this, or I wanted to see Evita, and like like, do you have any of that? Does that exist in LA at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's great theaters in LA, but I don't. There was there's a company called Rogue Machine in LA that I really wanted to do something with them, and then they did Hiller Caesars last spring. So that's
Mm-hmm.
great. So bucket list. In a tiny, tiny theater. Like I love a tiny, intimate theater. I
Mm.
love it when you have to be like really confronted with what's going on and you really feel a part of it. I feel like that's the one thing you can't get in any other medium, right? So a big stage is great, but I don't know, like I just saw Glengarry Glen Ross
Mm-hmm.
in New York. I wanted to take my kid to see it. Even though it's whatever. I'm not gonna talk about anyway. But anyway, it was an incredible cast, right? And
Mm.
usually I don't go to something for the cast, but this was an incredible cast. And it was really good and everybody was really good, but I had seen it a few years before where I couldn't catch my breath.
Ooh.
Like the first time I saw it was in the movie, I hated it. The second time I saw it because there was a family friend in it, and so we went to see it, and it was over before I knew it, and I could not catch my breath. The third time I saw it, it was good, and these are all magnificent actors, but the theater was so big that I felt like the words went out and just the emotion went out and just dissipated. Like I didn't, I just it was just for me, it was too big. It's not a musical, you know? It's
Mm.
a different thing. Or some plays are just really big, but this wasn't that for me. And I thought, oh, it's a shame. Of course they wanted to make money on it. They have all these actors, but I think it lost something with all that space. So space is really important. So I'm always just interested in different spaces. I don't have a
You
dream.
like the crucible. You like the crucible of the pressure, of the closeness, of the
Yeah,
intimacy, of like what it is that you created on the page and how it's coming. I love that. Like it's the chemistry of it. And like why give it up to more space when it can be more impactful and
yeah.
intimate?
I mean, that being said, if Broadway wants to come calling, really not going to say no. But I don't, that is to say, I don't really have like a dream space. I've
Okay.
been to so many beautiful, wonderful, strange theaters. There was one theater in LA. I just had a reading of something in there. I can't remember, but it was basically in an apartment. Some people had this apartment and they got the apartment next to them and they made it into a little theater. There was only like 30 seats in there. And she was this amazing chef and she baker and she would bake. And so everybody would get like brownies after the show. And you felt like you were like walking through somebody's living room together. It was so cool. It was so cool. Um, so that being said, the only place that I'm really coveting right now is I the one place that Hitler Stacers hasn't been to is London. And
Mm.
I know it's so perfect for a London audience. And I had a situation with a theater that was there that was very interested in it, and somebody that was very interested in producing it there. And sadly, he just died.
No. no.
He got a really awful esophageal cancer, and um, and he died very suddenly. They caught it too late. He died very suddenly, and so on top of the loss of him, also that sort of went away. Um, so yeah, that London is really. I would love to see. I mean, I'd love to see any of my plays in London, but Hitler's Tasters in particular.
Okay.
It's neat there.
LA, let's make that happen. I was just looking for that out in the world. Like, yeah, just make the good boo happen. Okay, so where else can people find your work? Like I know like when we met, right, it was an essay. Do you do that as well? Or are you strictly sticking with plays nowadays?
I mostly do plays. Sometimes I write articles. I still write some fiction and stuff, but I'm not really like putting it all
I could
together,
tell.
putting
It's
it
not
down.
your thing. It doesn't jazz you up.
I like it. I mean,
Okay.
I've written a book, I've got ideas for books, but now just still doesn't feel like the time. And there's nothing that I feel breathless about, right? I have to
Mm.
feel really breathless about something to do it. So mainly I do plays. I have three plays that are published, and other plays that are like have been done but are just not published.
So if people want to follow your work and to see if maybe Hitler's Tasters is coming towards them, or if they want to tell people, hey, produce this play, like how does that happen? Like I know you're kind of private, right? So do you want people to find you on social media or
Or, no, no, no.
okay,
I mean, I have a website
okay.
at michellekolosbrooks.com with all of my work, and I have to update it. I also there's also my Instagram is not really personal; it's open. It's my work, so I have
Hmm.
Michelle Kholos Brooks Instagram, and I also have a Hitler's Tasters Instagram because that's been the work that's been I think produced the most. And also there was so much fun media around it. Like, it's young women and they're adorable and they dance a lot during the show. And
Yeah.
so there's like great media around it. Um, and so there's links to the plays, and there's something called the National New Play Network that is sort of a place where playwrights can post their plays. And if you're a member, you can read. It's kind of cool to join. Like you can read maybe not millions, but thousands of plays by people all over the world that join that may not have been produced. I mean,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so I end all of my podcasts with this one question, which is if you came with a warning label, what would it be?
I mean, I said I like being pushed into a corner, and now you've it's not working. But what would my warning label be? I would just say the deep end comes suddenly. The deep end comes suddenly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Mine is we'll talk about Korea. So like doesn't have to be the most profound. Mine is like I will bring every conversation back to, oh my God, when I
Oh,
was in Korea, blah, 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 blah.
so
So
fantastic.
but for me, like what you were saying was like be a stranger in a strange land. And I like being there because I am a stranger in a strange land. It was a culture and a language and history that I never knew, but I felt very akin to,
Hmm.
right? Like I just felt a lot of their history is not so dissimilar to my immigrant grandparents or
Mhm.
displaced Jews after World War II, right? Or like who is being taken over or like all of that. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I relate to this. I relate to your stories. I also relate to how they tell stories. I
Mhm.
started reading translations and I was like, oh my gosh, their storytelling's heartbreaking and fantastic and I love it. So like I always like also like to say like I like to bite off a little more than I can chew so I can be uncomfortable and learn and figure that out. Are you reading anything right now that has got you like I don't know spinning in a creative way or is there anything that's come across I don't know in your world that's like helped inspire you to keep writing?
Um, not necessarily to inspire me to keep. As a matter of fact, I sort of go through a thing whenever I read something that's really good. I always think like, why am I bothering? There's already so much good stuff out there, you know. So it sometimes has the opposite effect on me. Um, but I really just did want to make a plug for an amazing book called Careless People that was written by a woman who was early on in Facebook, and it's really very upsetting and very demoralizing to read how intentional some of the horrible things that have erupted from Facebook, um, how intentional some of that was, and it turned me on my head a little bit. I mean, but then when you actually read the details about it, it's pretty upsetting. And I think people should, I'm not saying go off, I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm not saying go off Facebook, but I think the awareness of, I think I'm a little bit like this with all my plays. Like, I always know someone's trying to get us, right? I always feel like
Right.
I have that feeling. I told my husband, like, I think in a previous life I was in the Holocaust because I'm always like, danger, danger, danger. And in some ways, that book reinforced that
Mm.
paranoia in me. So it's not the most, it's actually a really easy, good read, but it's not the most fun read, but I think it's really important as we go.
I just want to say thank you again for coming and having a conversation with me. This was a lot of fun. I've read your work. I think people, you should go to the website and read other plays. I invite you to get uncomfortable and get creative because you never know what's inside of you. Like it can make a difference for someone, and maybe that someone is just you. So here you go. Thanks again for listening to the Holly Hughes podcast.